when I was young, I was in the sandbox playing one day, and I got sand in my eyes, and I was crying, evidently, my mom tells me. And so I was crying, and my mom rushed me into the bathroom and washed out my eyes with water. And she noticed, and this had happened multiple times before, that I did not tear up. And so finally, and she was concerned because how am I going to get the sand out of my eyes? So finally she took me to the doctor, and he diagnosed me with glandular tear duct disorder. And so when I was growing up, the rest of my childhood, if I got spanked or if I got into a fight or was being bullied and I cried, it was just like normal. I never had any tears, ever. I grew up in a good home. It's not like it was a great home. My parents were loving, and we had a prayer at Sunday dinner. At dinner every day we had the same prayer my mom had made up, and we had a prayer at night. Now I lay me down to sleep, and she took me to church. Me and my brother and sister, and she went to church, and we went to Sunday school, and my dad stayed home and watched football. And we had a great house and a great home, and I got to be a Boy Scout, and I was a good student, and as part of the Boy Scout thing, I got my God and Country medal, and as part of that, I ended up being an usher in church, and so I was even going to the youth group. But in 8th grade, I still was wearing a crew cut that I had always worn, and here it is, late 60s. And I was looking around, and I finally noticed for the first time that I didn't fit in with any of the guys in my class, and so I decided to grow out my hair. And so I did, and then I was reading my science textbook, and I became convinced that I believed in the gaseous particle theory of the formation of the universe, the spring of 8th grade. And therefore, there was no need for a God, and so I became an atheist. And that also gave me freedom to try to be more like my peers in other ways, and selfish and not so good ways. And by then the fall of right before the fall of my senior year, my dad retired, and we moved from Dover Air Force Base, where he was a pilot, to Federal Way, Washington. And everything changed, a much bigger school. And I noticed there was cute girls in the hallways carrying Bibles. I had never seen anything like that before. And on the basketball team, my best friend was a Christian. I hadn't known any Christians ever. And then I fell for this Christian girl, and I really fell for her. And she was ruining all my plans. But she was a Christian girl, and I couldn't help it. And then there was this Christian music in the air, and there was Jesus Revolution time, and even the Doobies had a song out, the Doobie Brothers, Jesus is just all right with me. And I didn't know it at the time, but God was wooing me. And I found myself wanting to be a Christian. But I was stymied that I just didn't believe in God, and I didn't know how to do a prayer to God I didn't believe in. And it delayed me for some time. And then on January 18th, 1973, 50-some years ago, I broke down, and I gave my life to Christ, and I was praying. And then in the prayers, I knew the prayer. Somehow I'd found out the prayer, and tears were coming down my face for the first time in my life. And I knew that God was revealing himself to me. And he was giving me a little miracle of my own because of my hard atheist heart, that I needed that. And that changed everything. And I just fell for Jesus way more than I'd fallen for my girlfriend. And but the downside of it is that I did soften my heart, but now anytime I watch a chick flick with my wife or I think about my mom, I get my throat starts swelling and then tears start coming out. Or if I can't give a testimony without tearing up. And so that's my little miracle story of how God made himself clear to me in the miracle of tears. So that's that one.